All right, everyone, the case building time is up. Before we start the debate, there are a few kind reminders for all of you here. First of all, please kindly send your speaker positions and the name of the particular speaker on the group chat so that the judges can input your score accordingly. For example, like in prop teams, who's the first speaker, the name, please make sure to input the full name and not the nickname, the name that is actually included in your etiquette. Second of all, because this round is being live streamed, please make sure to actually open your camera and please move to a more supportive environment. And then don't forget as well to actually set your own timer, because as judge, I'm only able to actually notify you through the chat box. So if you want a more like accurate timing, you can set your own timer. And regarding the debate, also please don't forget to mention your POI preference, whether you prefer to chat or prefer your opponent to directly unmute themselves. Please don't forget to mention it, and also don't forget to mention your gender preferred pronoun if any. With that being said, welcome to the Octofinals of NSDC 2021. I'm Meryl Dahlia as the chair of this round, and I have two panels. Judging with me is Murah Gede Satria and Ibu Riana Dwi Pratiwi. Without any further ado, I would like to call upon the Prime Minister to open the debate. For Prime Minister, floor is yours. Here.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
All right. My POI preference is through direct audio, so please just unmute yourself. Let me set my timer first. All right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, currently the tropes of Manic Pixie Dream Girl roll up in society. It's such a trend. How, for example, Poarch came out with her authentic style that are eccentric, different to vast majority of women, and easily get attention coming from the people. And because she already famous, she now get this particular predicate, Poarch or other women who have this similar characterization, means there is a new classification against women in status quo, and we believe it is not our agenda as feminists. Very proud to propose. Our goal simply to we want all women to be proud and able to describe themselves with the uniqueness they own. So what is actually MPDG itself, ladies and gentlemen? As the education core already determined, you is the type of female character who is often quirky, unique, sometimes eccentric, spontaneous, and unpredictable, or hence manic, doing things her own way and dressing up to the drums of her own heart, but her quickness is often described as what makes her desirable and attractive. And for example, we have a Poarch in the status quo, Halsey, and others. So in our side, we're going to oppose the trope, which is this Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And we're going as in the form of removing the tropes, as we believe women should not be classified into different classes. Two arguments I'm going to bring in my speech. Firstly, what is the nature of these women? And second, why this is justified for the feminists to oppose. And my second speaker will bring you two argumentation. Firstly, why the tropes is harmful, and second, what is the long-term impact if we stay on opposition idea. So before going forward, if the opposition would say that this Manic Pixie Dream Girl is the words that represented women, and with this kind of words, we believe the agenda of feminists is to make all women are safe, are equal to men without any other one woman actually more than the others, ladies and gentlemen. So let's come to my first argument. What is the nature of this woman? 2 points. Firstly, we believe that women, they want to be themselves, ladies and gentlemen. They want to show their own uniqueness, which we believe it is not same to the others. So why this is bad? Because we think that they would start to be an object and not subject, as they have to fulfill the society's expect towards this trope, ladies and gentlemen. And how we see, for example, people that are actually popular, such as Poarch, they they would be forced to fulfill or follow these current trends in order to always be popular, ladies and gentlemen. Means they cannot be themselves, and simply because once they, for example, and I'll take you in a second. Once they, for example, have the other characterization that is not same as what is the Manic Pixie Dream Girl means, it means that they are not into this kind of types of women, ladies and gentlemen. Before going forward, yes, please.
Don't you think there are other tropes in media that also portrays different kinds of women?
Ladies and gentlemen, therefore we're going to against this, as it is very how this Manic Pixie Dream Girl really specific to certain amount of women, and for example they should be eccentric and whatsoever. I think we should not try to classify women into these kinds of clusters. So let's come to my second point of what is the nature of the women, right? Second is we think it is not all women fulfill the same characteristic. For example, when someone actually spontaneous and eccentric, therefore but they are not fulfill the other characterization of this Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but therefore they would be called as this, they would be called with this kind of tropes or predicate, ladies and gentlemen. We think it's going to make them feel uncomfortable, how they would feel like it is not their identity, ladies and gentlemen. But therefore, why this is bad? Because they would not be proud to themselves. They would not be comfortable, and yes, how they would not feel proud to themselves, as they know that they should go to several tropes or classification of women where they cannot fulfill all the characterization. We think it's going to be bad. But second argument why this is justified for the feminists to oppose, because of two reasons. Firstly, let's take a look to the feminists' interest, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, we think the feminists have the interest to make women feel the same, not trying to distinguish them into several groups, and rather to make them get different. We don't, as feminists never want to make someone or a woman have different point of view or different view from the society to other women, right, ladies and gentlemen? But second, we believe that the interest of the feminists is also to create equality between women and men, and not trying to make the other women actually more superior than the others, or make these women superior to the men, ladies and gentlemen. We want equality. No, thank you. We want equality for all the women, and also to make them actually equal with the men, ladies and gentlemen. But second reason why this is justified for the feminists to oppose is because if we didn't oppose these tropes, there will be inequality among women, as this Manic Pixie Dream Girl would be viewing stronger than the other women, ladies and gentlemen, as they might be able to be such same with the man. And we think it is going to be very bad how society would still look that the women, even inside of the women, there will be other classification or cluster of people, which one is actually higher than the others, and means that the agenda of the feminists, how feminists want the equality between women and men, would be fulfilled, because since the beginning we cannot even make all women in the same line or in the same standards, ladies and gentlemen. But before going forward, yes, please.
Don't you think in order to create equality, you must first empower every uniqueness of women, and you shouldn't oppose their trait and make sure they change their trait?
Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, we think it is better for all the women to show their own uniqueness rather than to make it into such classification or this kind of tropes, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that if you are able to show your own uniqueness and make such new difference in a society, how you're going to show that you are worth, that you are better, that you are actually equal to the man, we believe it is going to be better, because there will be so many uniqueness coming from these women, ladies and gentlemen. We believe women, they actually have their own uniqueness, and it should not be classified as one type. We believe this is not how these women would feel comfortable with themselves, ladies and gentlemen. But then, because of how we see the societies were trying to view these women. There will be more classification of women, and at the very first time, since the very beginning, the feminists how our interests would not be achieved, because even in our inside of our because since the very beginning, even women, we cannot make it equal, as there will be tropes and whatsoever. Very proud to open the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for all of the arguments. To open the case of the opposition side of the House, I would like to call upon the Leader of Opposition. For the Leader of Opposition, floor is yours. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Gender pronouns are he or him. PI preference is to unmute your mic. I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. If proposition wants equality between women and they are trying to make sure that every woman is loved with feminists, then their entire premise literally backfires what they want, right? Because if you want to oppose MPDG, you're basically ostracizing them from the standard of what is a right woman and what is wrong, right? Your side literally opposes to women who want to be themselves, who are actually loving themselves if they want to be MPDG. Our side opposes that. We support the Manic Dream Girl trope, regardless if it actually, like, for example, makes some women to some extent better than others, right? One more point about it, right? We'll stick to pre-existing mechanisms where MPDG tropes still exist alongside other tropes, right? For example, women who don't want to be MPDG, who don't want to be MPDG can still be other tropes. For example, like, a bad B, or for example, like no BS woman, for example. Those kinds of tropes still exist at the House, and we still support and encourage every single kind of trope, right? The delineation is we don't want some trope to actually be like seen negatively than the others. We're still not going to take, but secondly, we're still not going to make a trope higher than the other, and we love all tropes equally. So we don't get why proposition wants to claim that we're actually making an MPDG glorified to the extent that it becomes the standard that all women should be. We don't support that. One rebuttal before I respond to all of their claims and integrated my arguments, right? They told you this premise that the nature of women is to be themselves and to show their uniqueness, and because of that, they need to fulfill society standards if they have to follow MPDG, right? But one response only, how we question this claim, right? EPM's downfall is that they never characterize to us what is MPDG's influence in media actually looks like, right? We don't understand what's the scope to the extent that every woman should be like glorify MPDG, or why MPDG should be like this imperative what women should be to become a woman. We need a clarification from DBM. Two arguments I'm going to bring. Firstly, on why it's unjust for feminists to oppose MPDG trope, and secondly, on why their side creates a lesser safe space for women. First argument on why it's unjust for feminists to oppose MPDG trope. Two layers. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the interest of feminism, and secondly, on why there's no urgency for this motion to begin with. Firstly, the interest of feminists, right? Within as feminists, we want to support all women no matter what. We want to create equality, representing every single type of woman. This is what they consider to, right? But the fact that there are genuine women who actually want to be MPDG themselves status quo means that proposition is opposing these kinds of women for being themselves, right? But the parameter for opposing that proposition needs to take is when these kinds of actors are actually ostracized. It's actually like not claimed to be women. They are not protected by feminists at the end of the day. Why does it become unjust on the House? Later, two things. Firstly, how you're no different than the oppressors of women who limit what they want to be and what they aspire to be, right? Because every time someone is actually trying to be quirky or to be carefree or to be independent in some way, your side is where you're like opposing them and you don't want them to be like that. Second point is how it creates a standard of what women should be and address at the House, right? This is likely because they're saying that it's not the right way to be a woman. It's unjustified because it's outside the inherent nature of feminism where they want to be like themselves, right? Why is it likely to happen? This is likely to happen because of how you create, when you oppose something, ostracize something, this is what what society will see as bad, and they want to follow it. They have to follow on what you need, on what the woman need to be raised at the House. Before moving to my second layer, I'll take a few. I
think I never opposed these women when they want to be themselves. We told you since the very beginning, and we think it is only happened on your side because we're trying to make women fulfill this characterization to be called with the trope.
Right, but the question is, what if women who want to be themselves are MPDG in the first place, right? Your side is to defend that, and your side counterfires your own argument. Second layer, and why there's no urgency for this. Three structural reasons. Firstly, how these kinds of women still has a strong and their own personality to begin with, right? If proposition is concerned about how women are seen, are like, not seen as weak, for example, because they, have to like follow the men. We say that MPDG does not fulfill the parameter, right? Because we characterize MPDG to be eccentric, at the very least have their own identity, right? Meaning they are not weak women who that only serves as a background character or are sexualized, right? So this clashes with propositions concerned how objectification will happen, right? Within the parameter of objectification is where the woman doesn't have a strong personality and they are not like, they don't have this like depth to the extent they're not human at the end of the day. We think MPDG still fulfills the parameter because they're still carefree, they're still independent, they still love themselves, and etc. Right? Second reason, how she is the one who still influences the male and not the other way around, right? This is where we show that the relationship between those two protagonists is still organic, it's still natural, right? How she's the one who has the power to influence and aid the character development of the men. That's to say, her strong personality is the one which outshines the men, right? That's to say, there's no inequality among men nor women, among men and women under our side of the house. And at the very least, it creates empowerment for them under our side of the house, right? Third reason, how even if you can't take those two arguments, we think there's always a counterbalance at school, how other tropes exist, right? Our POI was important to prove this point on how there are always other tropes that exist. For example, how there's always strong independent women anyways who don't need a man in their life, right? This exists in media, for example, this already exists in media and also in real life. That is to say, the women under our side of the house, if they want to be MPDG in the first place and actually create detrimental harm, we still say it's okay because there's always going to be like a safety net about this, right? Comparatively, our side encourages women to have a headstrong, carefree, and unique personality and to be themselves. Our side is what fulfills the interest of feminism at the end of the day, because we want women to be themselves. And if they want to MPDG, then go ahead. You don't have to be ostracized. You don't have to be hated by your own community if you want to be like that. Second argument on how their side creates a lesser safe space for women. The problem is on how the fact that MPDG also reflected to people in real life, like Bella, Poarch, Halsey, and Poppy, for example. It means that the women under their side, it means that feminism under their side of the house is attacking these women too, right? But why is that likely? By you opposing the trope means you're also attacking the person. It's impossible for you to separate the two, right? Because if they're carefree and a bit attached, then it's their choice to be carefree and a bit attached, right? It's their own identity and how they want to project how they want MPDG to be projected in their own daily life, how they want to be one, right? This is where it goes unjustified because you're attacking, like, because feminists are literally attacking women who want to be one. Why is it important? Twofold. Firstly, how you lose safe space for women who are MPDGs in real life, right? This safe space is important for actors, for women who are living in certain areas and have a patriarchal environment around them. This is where they don't get the protection that could have been offered to them if you had the feminist movement in the first place. Our side is the one that champions this. Second, their side is the one who actually harms this, right? Secondly, how society reacts will be negatively and that harms the intrinsic, and how this harms the reputation of the feminist movement. Because this is where fans of MPDGs from movies, for example, are the release fans of real life MPDGs, like the fans of Bella Poarch or the fans of the character that Zooey plays, is the one that antagonizes feminists, saying that this woman did nothing wrong, and the movement's literal purpose, which is to protect them, is contradictory, right? Societies around you is going to be salty and going to be cancelled. The reputation of feminism will be put in a bad light. Comparatively, our sides were the one that creates safe space for women. We follow the intrinsic purpose of feminism to begin with. Secondly, how we create more followers from the fans of celebrity women who are MPDGs, right? These fans are going to support the ones who support feminism because they see that our side is the one that actually supports MPDGs for existing. This is important because this is where we get more followers. It's where the movement becomes much better and where feminists get much more influence in the ground. Proud to oppose.
Thank you very much, Leader of Opposition, for your speech. To continue the case of the government side of the House, I would like to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister. For Deputy Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So my gender preference is she, her, and for the POI preference, I prefer you to unmute yourself for the POI. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Honorable judges, the MPDG trope exists just to create the stigmatization where all the women are strong, where all the women are superior than the men itself. So proud to propose the motions. Two argumentation I'm going to bring in this debate. Firstly, on how this trope is harmful, and secondly, the long-term impact if we stay on the opposition side of the House idea. But before doing that, there are several notes hitting to the opposition side of the House. Firstly, they are saying that this woman with MPDG will never stay in our side of opposition. But they never put the attention on our PM because we told you clearly what we oppose is the trope, not the women who are those particular characterization. But they are still saying that the moment when we are taking down this trope, it means we are attacking the women itself. But we think if we not attacking these women that become the MPDG people itself, we think it is. We think it just we want the stigmatization that exists, which is where all the women are superior. We want it to be present on our side itself. And secondly, the opposition stand is to make the women able to show their uniqueness. Variously, we have the same intention, honorable judges, but we tell you that on our side, it is bad will be happen better. Because why is that so? Because there will be more choices for these women to be what they want and should not follow the characterization of particular trope itself. But answering the BOP coming from the opposition side of the House, they are saying about the characterization we forgot to characterize the MPDG in media. We think the characterize of the MPDG in media is they are want to show the uniqueness that they are having, and they want to show the people that what are they being for. So coming on my first argument on how this trope is harmful. Firstly, honorable judges, we think this MPDG that are exists in status quo is only the ruin the internet of women. The trope, honorable judges. Because the interest of the women, where we know that they love to show their differences, they love to show their uniqueness of their self between the bands and judges. The moment this MPDG trope exists, we think it only creates the stigmatization, it only rises the stigmatization where all of these women are really strong than men. We think this isn't the way to do at the first place, which is we think it's okay to make all the women are being superior, but this isn't the best way, honorable judges, which means this creates the inequality of the feminism itself. Honorable judges, we see this will always happen if we stay in the status quo. We see it just create more of the character of women is become superior, but not in a good way, honorable judges. We think it is okay, but we should not be in denial to the fact that this harmful. This is how it's harmful. Firstly, the moment when this MPDG trope exists, the moment this exists, they bring denial to the women who are mentally sick and who are mentally not normal, such as women who have Tourette's, such as women who being autistic. They underestimating them, these women, how this framing isn't in line with the equality that all feminists want to reach at the very first place, right? And also, secondly, these women who are not much capable, that are counted as superior women, which the trope are made by the MPDG trope itself, but still, we're not going to against the MPDG people at the very first place, honorable judges, because yes, they have the freedom to show what they want to be, right? They have the freedom to be unique at the very first place. We're at this point, we let them to freely express what they wanted to be. But thirdly, this harm toward the mentally sick women, they seems being left out. The trope glorifying about how the men are very strong and behavior to let down the men. But finally, MPDG trope just only create harms to them, to these women who are mentally sick, such as Tourette or autistic itself, because we've seen that they are also human. They are women. They should not be left out at the first place. Moreover, they are coming from the feminist or women, right? And we think the moment when we only stay to make this trope of the MPDG exist, we think it's just giving harmful towards them, because the stigmatization that will exist, it will make them to be left out at the very first place. Moving on my second argument on the long-term impact if we stay on this opposition side idea. But honorable judges, we think that the moment of the biggest problem that coming from the opposition side is they want to glorify, they want this all the women can be expressed later. They want to make all the women to freely express themselves. But we think that moreover they want to making this MPDG trope, right? We think it only giving the disadvantage moment to us as the feminists, because they can give you the win-win solution that the likelihood on the best case will happen towards the both sides. They will never reach this. Before I'm going to prove to you. Yes, please.
you concede feminists need a lot of support for equality, which we agree. But why do you think feminists will ditch the other woman in like their movement?
We think that the equality, all of the women will always be reached on our side because we make these women not being superior at the very first place. Moving on my argument, how this likelihood will the win-win solution that will never happen on the opposition side of the house. Firstly, because we provide you where this trope will be opposed on our side, and then it has the impact on the feature itself. Because firstly, we create the equality. Why? Because we make and reach the feminist movement goals at the very first place. How we will reach this goal, honorable judges? Because we create the world where there will be no superior women at the first place, and there will be no women who being left out. And moreover, vice versa with the opposition side, the equality will be never reached on their side. Even though they will glorifying about the equality that will be reached on their side, we think it's more likely to be happen on our side. And also the stigmatization that already exists, it only will exist on their side because they will making this MPDG trope will always exist. And we think moving forward, they will never reach the idea that where we will bet it will more likely to happen on our side with that. But does it take time? Definitely, it will take time on our side. But even if it will take time, we will guarantee on the long term itself. How we will guarantee? Because the equality is being needed to at the very first place of the feminism things, right? And our other judges, which it leads them, these women, to be having the opportunity to make the most of their lives and the talents itself. By these two arguments that I already bring to you, which is the trope and the trope is harmful, and also the long-term impact if we stay on the opposition side idea. Vote for Gorontalo.
Okay, thank you very much for your speech. To continue the case of the opposition side of the House, then I would like to call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition. For Deputy Leader of Opposition, time and place is yours. You're here.
Is my voice audible?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, wait a second. Let me set my timer first. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So basically, Team Government's entire case is contingent upon other tropes being overshadowed on the other side of the House, right? We think this is simply not true. Realize that the premise of supporting itself means that we're not going to exclude MPDG in our movement, right? It just means that we're going to accept this trope just like any other trope that exists in the current status quo about women, right? Realize that supporting doesn't mean glorification. We think that this is a completely different thing, and that's why their concern was never valid anyways. Their entire case cannot fly. But two things then I will talk about in my speech. Firstly, I will bring about first issue on why the existence of MPDG won't be harmful towards women under our side of the House, and secondly, on extension on how we can help standards of beauty under our side of the House change to become better, right? So firstly, why the existence of MPDG won't be harmful towards women under our side of the House? They brought to you two things under here, right? Firstly, they talk about how women are going to be seen as object under our side of the House. But three responses under here, right? Firstly, we think that at the end of the day, we don't see this as true, right? Realize that the parameter of objectifying in the very first place is the moment you actually see a person and you only see only the looks, right? Where you only see their body on how they look, etc., etc. We think that the moment we're talking about MPDG and about a trope, it's specifically talking about their personality, right? It was never about the looks. It's about how they act, on how they will actually interact with other person inside this movie, right? That is to say, the parameter that a government is trying to prove under saying that objectifying will happen under our side of the House won't even happen anyways, right? Because objectifying and a trope is in a completely different matter at the end of the day. But second response then, even if we follow their parameter at the end, we think that objectifying will happen anyways, right? Realize that objectifying happens under both sides of the House, where women since the very beginning has been always seen as just a beautiful slab of meat that patriarchal society can just see and gawk at, right? They never gave you any single comparative on benefits on why their side can even solve this the moment they oppose this kinds of MPDG trope at the end of the day. But third response then, comparatively, even if you can't buy our claim about how these kinds of standards won't happen anyways, we think that if government's concern is objectification, we are the only exclusive side of the house that can actually stabilize this harmful narrative at the end of the day of this kinds of objectification and beauty standard. And I'm going to bring more on that on my extension, right? But second thing they brought to you in this debate, they talk about how women will try to follow the MPDG trope on the outside of the house, and this becomes harmful because it's not their own identity. But for structural responses on why this falls, right? Firstly, they give no explanation at all or even any single likelihood on four things. One, we still don't get why the influence is so big to the extent that it creates a standard in the current status quo that every single woman wants to follow, right? This never answered from PM to DPM. Secondly, they never explain any concrete harm of what is the harmfulness of women actually trying to follow trend at the end of the day. There's no implication towards this, right? But thirdly, they never really talk to you on why women will suddenly have the incentive to change their entire personality that they have built from the rest of their life just to follow trends in the current status quo. But lastly, they also never explain why this trope will be detrimental enough to overshadow every single trope that's already available in the current status quo. Because they didn't explain any of this, we think that supporting this trope isn't contingent upon forcing every single woman to be MPDG, right? Let's contextualize supporting under our side of the house. We think this looks like simply accepting the trope and not denying this trope exists inside our community, right? That is to say, we're just going to let the other girls be, right? And whether or not, if they want to follow this trend and whether or not they're MPDG or not, then so be it, right? At the end of the day, under our side of the house, it's their choice on whether or not they want to change to be MPDG or whether or not they want to stay as their own personality at the end of the day. But okay, government might say that it's the society that is doing the forcing because this is a standard that every woman needs to be MPDG to be beautiful, right? Second response, then why this is untrue, right? Why women won't be pressured to be MPDG if they don't want to? We think that we already told you that alternative already exists to counter these kinds of MPDG tropes, right? This is like movements telling women to be independent, or for example, movement to tell you to love yourself no matter what, right? This means this completely nullifies the importance for these women to even be MPDG in order to be seen as beautiful anyways, right? Realize that what's going to be different under our side of the house is that MPDG will also be seen as beautiful and empowering under our side of the house's feminist movement, while comparatively under their side of the house, these kinds of MPDG women will just be opposed, will just be seen as something that is bad. And this is why under their side of the house, their case is not urgent at all. But third is on this, even if they can prove these kinds of things are being urgent, they're still bad, right? Realize their benefit revolves around how they will oppose this women who are MPDG since the very beginning. This directly clashes with feminist goal, which is to protect every single woman anyways, right? Government cannot say that opposing the trope doesn't equal just accepting the women, but just opposing the trope, right? We think the moment we're talking about tropes, we're also talking about personality, on how these people act in real life, right? We think this is already implemented in their own identity, and that's why when you oppose these kinds of tropes, you're also opposing the women who have these tropes anyways. But for response then, even if you still can believe their claim, we take this trade-off, right? At least under our seventh house, we will protect a strong trope, right? Where women will be seen as powerful, full of personality, and equal to men to the extent that they can influence the men that are protagonists in order for them to actually see the beauty in life. We still take the trade-off of women seen to be beautiful and strong under our seventh house. But extension then on how we can help change standards of beauty under our seventh house. We think that the beauty standards of women is currently based off of looks, right? Well, this looks like how skinny they are or how fair their skin is, right? We think this is more prevalent when we're talking about women because they have been always seen as beautiful objects and nothing else. We think this is super detrimental towards women, and this will only proliferate under their side of the house. So why is this harmful, right? Realize that the fact that MPDG promotes a quirky personality as the attractive and desirable point of these women, but proposition opposes the standard of beauty means they're perpetuating conventional beauty at the end of the day, right? This means under their side of the house, there's going to be only one standard of beauty that women needs to follow in order to be seen as beautiful, as conventionally beautiful in the society, which is already based off of these kinds of looks, right? We think this is important because one, conventional looks are arbitrary factors because of birth lottery. You cannot change it. Secondly, beauty is what makes women attractive and can get more opportunities from the people around you because people see you more attractive. It's like job fields, friends, and climbing social ladder. We think the opposite government cannot just say that these women can just wear makeup to look beautiful, because there's still an unfairness where women who are born way more beautiful than others and way more, for example, ugly than others, are still being discriminated, and they need to do more in order to be beautiful just like the other woman, right? We think that the moment there's this unfairness, it's already bad under the side of the house. But comparatively then, why we can change it, right? Firstly, point of disclaimer, this doesn't mean that under our side of the house, we oppose the women who are conventionally beautiful, right? What we're doing under our side of the house is to create a more friendly beauty standard to the society. That is to say, our beauty standard also views good personality as also beautiful, seeing that MPDG itself is actually promoting strong personalities of women being independent, of women actually having these strong and creative personalities at the end of the day. Under our side of the house, we protect the vulnerable actors, which are women who aren't conventionally attractive, right? Under our side of the house, they will be also be appreciated where they prove that they can have a beautiful and unique personality that make them, right? This looks like social validation, where attractive people will be seen as more sociable and they can still get more friends than, or women being accepted to job easier, even though they're not conventionally attractive. We think we are the only side that can actually solve these kinds of issue. So proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the remarks coming from the Deputy Leader of Oppositions. To close the case of the government side of the House, I would like to call upon the Government Whip. For Government Whip, floor is yours. Here. Government Whip, are you there?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, loud and clear.
Yeah. Let me set my time first. And my POI just through voice, so just unmute yourself. And my gender pronouns would be she, her. And I'm going to start my speech. In 3, 2, 1. Panels, what is actually we stand from this is the progressivity of these women. We stand from the progressivity of these families since the very beginning. The idea of MPDG will lead you into someone of this social contraction would be expect. What is actually these people want you to be look like and your appearance. We think that is actually since the very beginning it's contradictory with the families in line with the feminist purpose since the very beginning. We told you we are so proud to propose these motions. There are 2 classes that I'm going to bring to you on today's debate, and my report will be intertwined on my classes. My classes on today's debate is which side better from the justification from this MP DGT, and second classes is going to be which side better impact to these women. So let's come to my classes would be which side give it better from this MPDG. From the progressivity of this. What opposition trying to say on the entire cases of them is what is actually this MPDG is a form of to you to love yourself, to create a choice from these women. As a matter of fact, that's what opposition side want to say to us. That's in line with this feminist movement proposed since the very beginning. But we told you this MPDG at the first place is not a form how you love yourself. Why is that? So because MPDG idealistic that create that you lost yourself since the very beginning, because there are the expectation and will direct you into something that exists and in the viral that happened in status quo, and how the viral thing would be so much impact to yourself, and it will direct you into someone that you're not into your not ability from that. And we believe, as a matter of fact, this influence the other this from this MPDG at the first place as the letter as this too much portrayal of yourself as you are as the object one, as your personality would lead you into someone that your body, and will lead you into something that of your face of something as not in line with this feminist movement since the very beginning. We're opposed this idea of feminist. And let's come to my extension would be the progressivity of this feminist. What is actually the interest of this feminist? Since the very beginning, we told you this integrate of these women that they are able to protect and have their own ideology from this as themselves without any do. Since the very beginning, we told you about this. And this women progressivity, they are being lacked in any kind of thing that they will follow into anything that happened in status quo, that happen in current social media and the other. That's we don't want them to lead it into something that they actually don't have any intention at the very beginning, right? So we believe as this feminist ideology actually happened, as this equality that happened, that the interest of this campaign of these feminists would be so much impactful if we oppose this MPDG as the first place. Why is this so? Because as the nature of these women, we don't want them to classify these women. Oh, actually, this women is more higher than anybody. Oh, this women is actually more superior than anybody. We don't want this happen, Panas. And while we should oppose this idea of this MPDG and etc., later, as the nature of this the trope of this MPDGT that will lead you into this women misoriented, like would actually happen on this MPDGT idea, judges. So it would be able to force to you to be what exactly people accept to you, and how the other it will lead you into this misoriented purpose at the very beginning, as we want this progressivity of this feminists and as these women could be able to happen, never actually happen on the opposite side, judges. So we think as the progressivity of this feminist movement, we want women stand with their ideal. Women stand with their ideology without any disrupting with the other, without any disrupting with the expectation and what is actually this user or this society constructive trying to build by themselves, trying to create the things by this public figure and etc from this. And we don't want this happen for these women, and we don't want this later becoming as a form of objectification. Since the very beginning, we told you about this, and as a human, we think these women also a subject as someone that we should not show and in the second cluster of this idea, which opposition side always glorify this MPDG idea. We're still stand in our points. But before moving on my next classes, yes, please.
The question still stands. Why is the influence of MPDG so big to the extent that it makes other women feel inferior to them?
Panels, we think as the growth and developing in every social media, how we could see Bella Poarch as one of the Asian TikTokers, like TikTokers around the world, how it would be able to influence in Indonesian a cluster since the very young generation of them, how the teenager would be so much look like to from the personality, how the too much thing that the too much thing that these women must to do, and as slowly but surely we think it could be able to create this social constructive that would be happen on the opposition side by using this MPDG idea. So we think it's more likely beneficial in our side. So let's come to my next class. It would be which side better from the impact of this woman. What is actually the MPDG the impact for this women? What actually the opposition trying to say to us in this is this stance and this women right, how we actually have to accepting this women choice and etc. But how do we respond? We believe as how this women personality, how they act is actually important, but even if how the impact would be happen in the opposite side, how they spread this movement would be so much bigger and misleading at the first place. That's what the big constructive that we want to tell to the opposite side at the very beginning. And as the nature of this MPDG that over us to use this idea, that is too much idea, your appearance, your look like as a woman, you must look like attractive, you must look united than the other, you must look the whole exactly standing on social media and etc. That's expectation that will lead you into someone that you're not at the first place on you. So that's what the thing that we oppose since the very beginning of this from this MPDGT idea of women. So how about the progressivity of this women image? So at the very first place, that is this movement goes on, how it's never actually since the very beginning women are left behind. And what is actually when we come up with the idea of feminist and we don't want women as the left behind and all of this thing, we want this, as a sudden, we want this movement implemented. We want these women as the objectification, and we want women being a superior through and relate with this objectification, which we really oppose this idea, judges. So we think it's productive with the feminist agenda at the very beginning. So by this argumentation that we already talked to you, we think as we want to stand from the progressivity of this feminists, we want to stand with this progressivity of these women. We are so proud to propose these motions.
Thank you very much for your speech. To close the case of the opposition side of the House, now I would like to welcome the third speaker of the opposition side of the House. For the opposition whip, floor is yours. Here.
All right, for POI, unmute. I'll be accepting them before moving on to my second rebuttal. So gender pronouns he, him. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. You might be confused with the proposition's goal because we really don't understand it also, right? They want women to be proud and be unique and equality, but they have to oppose the MPDG. They're literally opposing a unique trope of woman that is a part of feminists, right? We don't get how equality is under their side of the house if they literally want to oppose and literally not want to cater to this MPDG woman that is a part of woman. Guess what does it mean? Their house stance, they contradict, they support how uniqueness is needed, which we don't get why they want this under their side of the house, but we're the only one who told you why it is needed under our side of the house because we support them still, because of how women need safe place, especially this MPDG woman, because how it empowers these women, because of how reputation of feminist movement to always be consistent with their proposal is needed and not feed into the patriarchal system and like patriarchal mindset that patriarchal tells women what to do and not to do. We think we win by that. So proud to oppose. One question: why feminists need diversity that protects women? Two main concerns, right, coming from government. First of all, when they talk about how, we're going to force people to fulfill this trend of support of supporting MPDG and they won't feel comfortable. Three responses. Firstly, I want to question Gov's logic, right? Panel, I think supporting doesn't mean we force all women becoming MPDG, right? Literally, I can support MPDG, but I don't have to be an MPDG, right? And literally, it just means I want them to be themselves, to make them empowered and not be afraid of how their personality are in the eyes of conservative and society, right? You don't have to be a woman that are independent and have a career if you don't find interest in it. Why? Literally, panel, feminist movement never tell and dictate women what to do and to be, right? That's literally what they are fighting for, coming from the patriarchy, right? That women are told to be just in the kitchen, or women told to just a mother and should not be an independent career woman, right? Feminist movement is literally, their motto is literally women supporting women, right? But second response, even if it is a trend and people are forced to be MPDG, then it's fine. Two layers here. First of all, having a trend doesn't mean you have to follow the trend, right? Literally, you get to choose whether you want to follow the trend or not. People isn't going to oppress you for not following the trend, right? Most likely you follow the trend because of fear of missing out, right? But that is fine. It's what you choose to be, right? It's what makes you feel, for example, fine with it, right? Because you're not fear of missing out, which is what we support. We don't want to oppose and literally not give safe place towards the MPDG woman. But secondly, panel, literally trend means there are huge awareness in society. Literally, if it is a trend that government concedes to and people are doing it, it's literally a huge benefit under our side of the house. Thank you, government. Meaning, if government concedes there will be a trend, the safe place for these MPDG women will be so huge, right? That this trend of supporting MPDG empowers these MPDG women that feel that their uniqueness is so respected and appreciated. You don't have to be afraid. You don't need to be opposing this MPDG. You are literally respected through this trend, right? Why? Because the trend means people are doing what is the trend telling them to do, right? That under our side of the house, the trend is supporting MPDG, or if what they want us to do, or if people choose to be an MPDG woman, it's fine. If they're a woman and they feel like, I think I have an interest or my personality is MPDG, then it's fine. We support it, right? We don't want to oppose it. If that trend actually empowers other women to, like, for example, be brave, that and like, for example, tell the others that, I'm an MPDG woman, and they don't have to hide about it, we're fine with that, right? Because it means we're giving like a huge safe place. We're making a lot of women appreciate themselves more, because women are very diverse. They're very like a lot of dimensional characteristic and personality. We want to cater to the most like what feminist movement want, right? To always support women no matter what they are, no matter what their uniqueness is. But third response, comparative. Panel, we told you how first of all, how this is harmful to oppose MPDG, that feminists are going to be seen bad because they don't support uniqueness of women, right? We think there is such a huge harm when it comes to opposing this, right? Two things here. One, the woman will lose safe place, but not only the MPDG later, woman is losing the safe place, right? But also other women that see how feminists now don't support their sisters, for example, and MPDG friends, right? How other feminist member that is not MPDG, for example, will see that feminists now is not supporting women and not supporting women and other unique women, right? This can also affect other feminist women, right? We told you how it is like so bad if you literally want to oppose this this MPDG. But yeah, before that, POI, yeah.
You're saying that we are opposed to MPDG, but actually we are opposed to MPDG trope that are exist. At this point, we still support the women.
Okay, literally the motion say you have to oppose the MPDG. Are you like trying to have stance? Like literally we told you from the opening, right? But yeah, second, feminists, like we told you how feminist is going to feed into the patriarchy because women are controlling how women should behave, for example. That under GOV, you're told to not be an MPDG, right, for example. But okay, like literally, I think that's their main concern, right? Which we told you how harmful it is under their side of the house, right? But second thing, when they talk about how, oh, inequality in women, because their MPDG will be seen higher than the other, like PM and DPM say, right? Three responses. Firstly, panel, we really question very, very much why supporting a part of MPDG means we are literally kicking out the rest of the women in the feminist movement, right? We got no likelihood. This was an extreme claim coming from proposition. We got no likelihood. Don't buy this claim, right? But second response, I'm going to be charitable and like respond to this. Until right, we say no. Literally, feminist movement are still progressing. They need help, power, followers to always attract people, to give protection to women, to make sure they have power to give protection to every like gender and woman and men, right? To change this toxic patriarchal mindset that feminists don't want, right? I don't think they will not cater to women when literally that uniqueness of women gather support. How? Because we're not just one-dimensional, right? Feminist woman isn't just catering to a specific woman, literally meaning under our other people will see how feminists care for everyone, for example, and not just recruiting women when they want to and leave that woman when they want to support another woman, right? Literally, that's going to make feminist movement lose all of this like consistency of like literally gaining like help and support because how feminist movement will always try to cater to equality of men no matter who they are, right? But third response, comparative, right? Even if we are going to make one woman characteristic or personality higher than the other, like MPDG, we're going to prioritize them. We're fine with that. Why? Two reasons here. Firstly, literally, feminist movement can't always solve every problem in like a 1 second and 1 day, right? They have priorities because they're still progressing and don't have the hugest number and majority yet, right? Meaning we need to prioritize supporting the most urgent matter because these MPDG show society that women don't need to have a standard of personality. You don't have to be a woman like working every day if you don't want to. You can be anything you want. We support diversity rather than generalization on what women should be, right? We told you from BLO that we got no engagement on, right? But second of all, we told you how three structural reasons why it's totally okay if they are higher, right? One, at least woman has a strong personality to begin with. They follow their own heartbeat, they're quirky and they're unique. This leads to women becoming confident and avoiding objectification. Their side never rebutted to our parameter of objectification, right? But secondly, we talk about how we demolish the beauty standards of women to not only be based off looks, but also from personality by supporting MPDG. Because realize, under their side of the house, they're literally opposing MPDG, meaning you shouldn't be like this personality, right? You're literally making personality of woman or not literally being catered, right? Well, under our side of the house, we want to also support personality to what? To make sure that if women are not, for example, comfortable in their appearance, for example, they can, for example, be proud of their personality, for example. That is like another added benefit under our side of the house, right? That government don't have, right? But third of all, we talked about how it's the woman who influences men. So it's not going to be men being superior to women because their side in their character development, right? We told you regarding how women have this like strong personality that we support, especially meaning that a woman will be so empowered to like have this own personality. They won't literally be being like controlled by the man. They have this power, especially when they know that they have a safe place. They have like other of their sisters and like their members and like their brothers, for example, supporting the feminist movement, coming from the feminist movement that supports their identity and their personality. I think they're going to be proud and stronger for all those reasons. So proud to stand on Octofinal as Jawa Barat.
Thank you very much, Opposition Whip, for your remarks. To summarize the case coming from the opposition side of the house, let's call upon the opposition reply. For the opposition reply, time and place is yours.
Is my voice audible?
Yep, audible.
Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. This debate ultimately ends in one tipping point, right? Which is which side is in line with the feminist movement. I think that both sides agree that the entire purpose of feminism is clear, right? Both sides agree that the entire needs of feminism is on which side can actually protect these kinds of women, which are the vulnerable actor feminism wants to protect better. Realize that under a government, they only gave you a negative case, right? They never gave you any comparative on why their side can even create the benefits and on how their side is marginally better. They only impose these kinds of harms to us that we can tackle them. So what did they accuse to us in this debate, right? Two things. Firstly, they told you that women will feel like they're forced to be MPDG, which will be harmful because you are not who you are, right? How to respond to this, right? Four things. Firstly, we never get any concrete implication of the harm of being not who you are, right? Their claim is super weak to begin with. But secondly, realize that they're still harming women at the end anyways, right? Realize that my L already told you that it's impossible to attack the trope of MPDG without attacking the person themselves, because it's their identity and their own personality that makes them love themselves anyways, right? Realize that you attacking the trope still harms the woman, and there's no response at all to this, right? But thirdly, we think that this is not going to happen under our side of the house, right? We already explained to you that supporting doesn't equal to glorifying. Realize that supporting means just simply accepting this trope existing in the current status quo. Just like how appreciating when an MPDG character is being displayed in media alongside other tropes, they're also celebrated inside feminism, like girl boss or like other types of tropes that already exist in the current status quo. While glorifying, they likely means it will push MPDG trope to the top right and overshadows other tropes. This means that under our side of the house, MPDG trope will never be seen as the most superior personality anyways, right? It will not be seen as the best personality in the society because there are still other tropes to actually counterbalance and be seen as beautiful. Their case isn't urgent at all, right? But fourthly, even taking the very best case scenario of government, where we say that even if we are glorifying these kinds of MPDG trope anyway, we think that this is still going to be okay because of three reasonings, right? We take the trade-off. Firstly, it's still within their own women's choice to be MPDG, right? This is to say, changing your own personality is a big thing. You need lots of preparation if you want to do it. So if they want to change to be MPDG in order to be accepted by society, then they already 100% want it, right? Then it will be harmful at all. So be it, it's their choice anyways, right? But secondly, realize that MPDG is a strong narrative anyways, right? Firstly, at least this women have a strong personality to begin with. They follow their own heartbeat, they're quirky, and they're unique. This leads to women becoming confident and avoiding objectification. Their side never rebutted to our parameter of objectification anyways, right? But secondly, it's the woman who influences this men in these kinds of tropes. So it's not going to be men being superior to women because they aid in the character development, right? We think that this is completely in line with the feminism's purpose, where women is now seen as being able to actually be one, full of personality, and secondly, be influential towards men and be useful at the end of the day. But lastly, the moment we actually glorify this, at least we gain more support from celebrity women like Bella Poarch, exactly when their third speaker answer our POI and say that their influence is so big, right? This is where we can garner more supporters of feminists because our interests are aligned with the fans of MPDG people are on the ground. Their side received backlash from these fans and feminists are cancelled. No response to this. We think even when we're taking the worst case scenario of under our seventh house where supporting equals glorifying, we still win marginally over them, right? But secondly, they're concerned about women will be seen as object. What do we tell you, right? Firstly, we think that objectification itself is based off of looks. It means that it's the exterior, it's about beauty, right? Why does their point fall? Realize that MPDG trope is based off of personality. That is to say, objectification shouldn't be the parameter of what we're debating, right? It's completely different at the end of the day. Secondly, if anything, MPDG is helping to remove objectification, where we show how women can also have personality that is super strong and likable, and it's not just about looks. And that's why at the end, we cater towards the interests of feminism the most. So proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech. To close the entire debate, I would like to call upon the reply speaker from the government side of the House. For the reply speaker, time and place is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, understand that the main actors in this motion is the feminist, and means the main goal that is coming from the both sides is about to empower the progressivity of feminist movement. However, only one team could win in this debate, and as it was run very tired, we're going to help the educators to portray the debate. A few things I'm going to talk about in my speech. First, I'm going to over reasons why we deserve to win in this debate. Second, we're going to First, I'm going to over reasons why opposition cannot win in this debate. Second, I'm going to explain why our team deserves to win in this debate. And finally, I'm going to talk about the clashes. First point, why opposition cannot win in this debate. Okay, because they said that women able to show their uniqueness in their side. But they ignore the fact that in their side, there will be several characterizations that should be fulfilled by the women to be acknowledged. We think it could not be called as a freedom to come up with your own uniqueness. But B, they said there is no influence for people who want to follow the characterization of this Manic Pixie Dream Girl, ladies and gentlemen, because they want to be themselves. But they forget that the examples of women who enter the MPDG are Halsey, Bella Poarch, etc. that very, very popular in the world, means there are women who might follow, then opposition side have been very dismissive. But see, they always talk about how our side wants to against women with MPDG's characterization, but we tell this is our first speaker, we define clearly what we want to oppose is the trope, it is the predicate or the term, and it is not the people. Our second speaker and third speaker also definitely told you that it is how we're going to, so we actually accept the people, but we're just going to oppose the trope. So second point, why we deserve to win in this debate. Firstly, because on our first speaker, we told you, we explained clearly how it is the nature of the woman, which they have their own uniqueness and cannot be classified into several clusters or tropes because every woman are different and they have their own uniqueness. But also talk about how the justification if the feminists oppose this motion, if the feminists oppose the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which is going to make which is because how the feminists have the intention to make equality between women and men, and also want to make all women are the same and not trying to make one woman actually more than the others. But then on our second speaker, she brings you two argumentation. Firstly, how this trope is harmful because MPDG create inequality and they make women their mentality low. For example, they're autistic and whatsoever. They create limitation, rise women very superior. But second argument, talk about the long-term impact. If we stay on opposition idea, we create the world that women can have opportunity to make the most of their life and talent, where they can actually express themselves and show their uniqueness. But then finally goes to the clashes into this debate. There are two clashes. Firstly, which side better from justification, which in our side there will be progressivity on feminist movement, how it is in line with the feminist agenda of the existence of women, and how we're going to be able to show our identity as a woman, our uniqueness. But second classes also talk about which side better give better impact to the women, ladies and gentlemen. We tell you that this is that the benefit that are coming from our side, how we're going to make these women, they are more comfortable and proud to be themselves with the uniqueness without trying to fulfill any characterization or going to choose which trope they want to be. And it means that these women, they actually have those they have the rights and freedom to express themselves, and they should not fulfill any expectation that are coming from the society, or even trying to change their identity or their uniqueness for Gorontalo. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the government reply. So that concludes today's debate in Octofinal of NSDC 2021. Congratulations for finishing the rounds. Please wait here while the judges are making the decisions. We'll see you guys